Hello, sports fans. Mauricio here. Well, let's turn on our database. This is the virtual desktop. Um, you've been given that URL, so you just click on SQL. We'll be using this one. We'll be using Visio. We'll be using Power BI. Now, as a student of WSU, you're given an account, and we're going to use this Windows authentication, so there's no password for you to remember. So that's good, and you just hit connect. So we're developing in SQL Server, Microsoft piece of software. We're going to use SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, to connect with the database SQL Server. SQL Server is a huge software, and we're just going to just use a little bit of it. But, some people do spend their entire careers working with data. So when you do get your account provided, you look for your account, and then you right-click tables, create a new table. We're going to do that in Module 1 with products, and you can pin any of the windows here. So, for example, we're going to make a products table. You can see I've got lots of tables. I like to have this Object Explorer open because I like to see the column names when we start querying or doing something with the data. We can, just drag fields over, but we have to create the table first. So let me show you how to do that. So we just did create table, and then you just start typing. And so I will give you the schema. The schema is the list of columns needed to store the data needed. Eventually, you'll progress into making your own tables of your own design, and that's when you're a database designer. And so in this class, you'll learn how to be a database designer, database developer. So we're going to write store procedures that manipulate data, and you're going to learn how to be a database analyst as well. So 3 for 1. You can go even further and learn more than that, and I'll point you in the right direction. Let me just go ahead and put in the rest of these columns. So I've typed in a bunch of columns here. So we're going to use integer for all primary keys. Primary key is unique identifier, so product 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. And you can have 2 products with the same ID number. So we're going to give them their own name. We're going to give them their own number. It's very easy to just use an integer for that. A lot of times companies will have a internal product ID, but they'll also have a column for the vendor SKU that you might see on the back of a jar of anything, long number. But internally, you probably use something simple. Here we're just going to use product ID, and let's take a look at that. We made it a primary key, which means it's not, you can't have duplicates. You can't have 2 product ones, for example. In a dimension table, which this is a dimension table, dimensions are categories, who, what, where, when. So maybe customers, vendors, categories, products, states, cities, types of customers. So those are just ways to categorize things. So you have a lot of dimension tables used to categorize the data. Then you'll have a transaction table, And so you sum up the data in the transaction table by these dimensions. So I might have a transaction table of 500 sales for the month, and we're going to total them up by product ID. So you have to figure out what dimensions are important to keep track of. Products will be important for many reasons. For example, we have to buy them to sell them. All right, so this dimension table, we're going to make auto number. So what you do is you open this identity specification. By the way, only the first column, primary key, can be auto number. One per table, just change that to yes. Product name, I just selected. So we're setting the schema, and these are the data types. We're going to use int for primary keys only. For other numbers, we'll use numeric. See that in a minute. And for text, we use nvarchar. So that's variable number of characters, 50 max. I like to use this n because that allows use of global letters and tildes and umlauts and things like that. Category ID, we're going to have a category table, and the categories are going to be 1, 2, 3. So this product is going to be one of a category. So soon we'll set up a foreign key constraint. So if the categories are 1, 2, 3 in this products table, I can't type 99. So we'll have a category ID and a whole chapter on referential integrity, how tables need to refer to each other. Stock quantity, numeric 80. So it can be 8. So how many do you have in stock? Can be 8 numbers wide. That's 9 would be 1,000,000. 7 is 1,000,000. Excuse me. We don't use any commas. So 7 would be 1,000,000. 8 would be 10 million. So that's way overkill. So you can even just chop that down. But I just use 80 for everything, or 82 is just a habit. But certainly 6, nothing's going to cost more than $99,000. So 6. Now 6-2 is interesting. So that means 6 total numbers, 2 of which can be the right of the decimal place. So we might want to just leave that a little bit larger. If you ever see an error that says truncate, then you know that you have to come back to this table and change it. Sales price 82. Last sale is going to be a metric. So we're going to keep track of when was the last time we sold this product, and we'll use a date diff function so we can make a report that says, gee, we haven't sold this product in 6 months, so don't buy any more, for example. Preferred vendor ID is going to be another table that we link to. Now I'm going to put in some metrics, so hang on. Okay, here's the rest of the columns. Total units sold. So we're going to have running totals, and so when we insert a new sale, we're going to come back to this products table and then increase this. Oh, we sold 5 more. I like to have running totals. How many units did I sell? How much revenue is generated? How much profit is generated? And these are running totals inside a dimension table. So it's I use them, to teach how to do insert and update. But also, this is a kind of a helpful information for managers that are just eyeballing data. Now, if you're going to make a report that a decision is going to be based off, you're going to go to the transaction table and add them up. So you always go to the transaction table to make reports of any significance. A decision aid for a manager. Now it's going to be accurate also, but I would make all reports over the transaction data. Recalculate that all over again, rather than trust that these numbers are accurate, revenue generated, etc. So, but I like to put them here just to keep track of things. Each of these have to start at 0, so they all need a default value. So go ahead in each one of these columns, put the default value of 0. So there's something about, so if you don't put that there, the default value is going to be null, which is just like nothing's in that column. But null plus 10 equals crash your program. 0 plus 10 equals 10. So any of these running totals, we need to start at 0. This rank, later on, will rank these products, 1 through 50. So we can use an int for that. I only use int for maybe a rank or the product ID or some type of identifier, employee ID, vendor ID, training ID, because you're never going to do any calculations on that. Now you're going to count rows, but you're never going to divide something by a student ID number or anything like that. Anytime you're going to do any calculations, you're going to want to use numeric 6 or 8 or something like numeric. Now there's a bunch of other data types. So we'll use bit at some point. That's a true false thing. So we're using date time. Int, numeric, and varchar. I guess you could use time, but I use date time and store time in that, or store the date in that. Take your pick. I use nvarchar rather than varchar, but we're going to use several of the data types, and you should know when to use each. All right, so I'm going to save this table, and so we're kind of going through the first homework. So I'll call that, I don't know, I have versions of this, 2025 products. I'll just say video products. All right, now if I want to change this to total units sold, I don't know why I do that, but if I hit the save button, that's going to work. So let me just change that back before I forget. But when you do it, it's not going to work because you have to set it up so that you can make changes to the schema. So here you go. Tools, options, designers, table, and then you have to take this checkbox off, prevent saving changes. So that's taking the training wheels off. Now while we're here, also text editors useful. I think all languages, that's where you get your line numbers and word wrap, which will both come in handy later. So I encourage you to do that. But once you have a table, where is it? So if I go to look at 2025 video,